I could have not gotten anywhere in my career if I was the smartest guy in the room. I hired smart people and listened to them, whether it was turf consultants like James Beard or Dr. Watsky, who we both lost now. Those guys, their thoughts are in my brain every day. Whether it was George Thompson, the superintendent, or Cal Roth with the tour, or Virgil Robinson, those minds have taught me. And I think that that's the biggest thing missing in today. Everybody talks about the greatest tool. You'll probably ask me, what's the greatest tool to use in golf? And it's the radio or the telephone. If you don't have the answer, pick up the phone, call somebody. And this is such an industry. All the guys we talked about, I call them all the time. And I think, Seth, that and your conduit, your magazines and your websites, that's what we're doing, is we're connecting thoughts together. And to me, that's the greatest tool in the industry.
That's cool. And just when you were telling the story about being at Chevy Chase Club, and you go back in time to when you're 15 and you start name dropping those guys. And I'm sure you weren't just pulling names out of a hat. You remember all these. Yeah. I think it's interesting to think of your web of people that you've connected with over the years that you still know. And I mean, how massive must your network be of just from your job and the place, how many people have come through your shop at any time in their career? Have you thought about that? Just about how, I mean, if you didn't have your job in this industry, you probably know a third of the people that you know today, but you know all these folks.
Well, a couple things. Being on the West Coast, moving to the West Coast, we did that in 1982, and it wasn't quite as established or known, industry. So I've met a lot of guys like Mike Pock, who was this great superintendent in this town for many years, or the Snyder family. But my dad told me to connect. And that was what you do. You connect. And Don Hearn, who's still out there. I mean, you see these guys and these legends, and it just makes sense to me. And now to be considered that, I guess I must be older to get that. But I appreciate it because it's what my dad taught me, or what the industry taught me, is to connect. And you don't have to have all the answers. Kimberly Gard with Syngenta, and Dan Keller, Nick Lubitsch, the salespeople who are around me help me. I don't always agree with them. And that's the point. You don't have to agree with people, but you're getting good information. And hopefully we're ahead of the curve in many situations instead of being behind the curve with turf and things like that. And the greatest days I've had was Dr. James Beard would come out here. He only would consult in the end with Desert Mountain and St. Andrews. So that's an honor. And he would just ride in a golf cart and he would tell me things that I still think about today. The closer you get to perfection, the more obvious your imperfections were. So usually so people start complaining about little things on your golf course. Well, that means so many other things are better or great. And we forget that. We're an industry set that concentrates on the negative, and we forget all the positives.
Yeah, that's tough. And it's true. And it's like, you hear that and you see that, and it's tough when you have to look at the little mundane things, and everything else is so perfect and picturesque. It's tough. It's a painstaking perfectionist industry.
Yeah. And we need to help each other. You talk about, since I've been at Desert Mountain in 1996, I actually came here in 90 and left for a few years, came back as a director. There's been 115 or 112 now superintendents on Pima Road. So within 8 miles of me on 20 golf courses, there's been an average of 4 guys replaced. But they've been some of the best guys. Phil Shoemaker at Desert Highlands, Ernie Pock, who's at Greyhawk, Mark Woodward, who's just getting ready to retire from Whisper Rock, and Ed Shimkus. And we were all friends. And we thought that we had to make each other better so we could be better. I wanted to be the best. So what I tried to do was use them and try to beat them. But if they called and have a problem, we're all together trying to solve that problem. Because I didn't want to win by having somebody else lose, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes
sense. I want to win because I was better. And then if Scottsdale was better, we'd get more people to come play golf in our town. And so that's how we work. And that's what it's all been great. And we have a great Superintendents Association out here, the Cactus and Pine and Carmela. And we don't meet at not enough people go to those meetings. I don't know. That's a problem nationwide, but that's who I lean on. So I feel like the guy that won the award. But if I didn't have Jose Castillo for 30 years in my career being a superintendent with me and on my crew, I wouldn't get this. Jose Castillo started working for me raking bunkers. And now he's the highest paid superintendent I have at Desert Mountain. And he damn well might be the best. And in all the guys that come through, I think there's 85 to 95 guys that are in this industry that came through Desert Mountain.
That's cool. That's awesome. Going back to what you're saying about, wanting everyone to succeed. I know you're a baseball guy. It's like, you don't want to beat, if it's the World Series and it's Game 7, you don't want to beat the team when they're missing one of their star players. You want them at their best. And I know that's
yeah. I mean, the Steelers played the Ravens this weekend, and the Ravens had 20 people that not on the roster. I wouldn't have liked that. I'm sure they didn't like it either. But you got to play who you play. But this is a great industry, and I want to be the best because of everybody else is winning too. Then they know I'm better than them. I don't want to. That's what I want.